Sodanandana Bhajan Janara Jamuna Tira Bhana Jamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Janavahalava Vivadahari Gopi Janavahalava Gopi Janavahalava Vivadahari Janavalava Sodanandana Rajanjana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajanjana Ranjana Tira Bhana Jamuna Tira Bhana Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Srimad Paramahansa Vivaragacharya Satra Satra Srimad Divine Grace of Acharya Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, Status Quo, Chapter 9, Brahma's Prayer for Creative Energy, text number 24. Right? 24, yeah? No, it's okay. I'll use it for it. Okay, these verses are a little tricky because they're longer than the usual ones, so different ways to chant them, but let's try it. Naviradat iha sato ambasijasya punso Naviradat iha satambasiyasya punso Vijnana shakti raham asham ananta shakti Vijnana shakti raham asham ananta shakti Rupam vichitram idam asya vibrin vato me Maririshista nigamasya giram visharga Maririshista nigamasya giram visharga Naviradat. From the navel lake. Iha. In this millennium. Sataha. Lying. Ambasi. In the water. Jasya. One whose. Pumsaha. Of the personality of Godhead. Vijnana. Of the total universe. Shakti. Energy. Aham. I. Asam. Was born. Ananta. Unlimited. Shakti. Of the powerful. Rupam. Form. Vichitram. Variegated. Idam. This. Asya. His. Vivrinvataha. Manifesting. Me. Unto me. Ma. May not. Dirishista. Vanish. Nigamasya. Of the Vedas. Giram. Of the sounds. Vishargaha. Vibration. Translation. The Lord's potencies are innumerable. As he lies down in the water of devastation, I am born as the total universal energy from the navel lake in which the lotus sprouts. I am now engaged in manifesting his diverse energies in the form of the cosmic manifestation. I therefore pray that in the course of my material activities, I may not be deviated from the vibration of the Vedic hymns. Please repeat. The Lord's potencies are innumerable. As he lies down on the water of devastation, I am born as the total universal energy from the navel lake in which the lotus sprouts. I am now engaged in manifesting his diverse energies in the form of the cosmic manifestation. I therefore pray that in the course of my material activities, I may not be deviated from the vibration of the Vedic hymns. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Every person engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord in this material world is prone to so many material activities. And if one is not strong enough to protect himself against the onslaught of material affection, he may be diverted from the spiritual energy. In the material creation, Brahma has to create all kinds of living entities with bodies suitable to their material conditions. Brahma wants to be protected by the Lord because he has to contact many, many vicious living entities. An ordinary Brahmana may fall from the Brahma Tejas, or the power of Brahminical excellence, due to his association with many fallen conditioned souls. Brahma, as the supermost Brahmana, is afraid of such a fall down, and therefore he prays to the Lord for protection. This is a warning for one and all in the spiritual advancement of life. Unless one is sufficiently protected by the Lord, he may fall down from his spiritual position. Therefore, one has to pray constantly to the Lord for protection and the blessing to carry out one's duty. Lord Chaitanya also entrusted his missionary work to his devotees and assured them of his protection against the onslaught of material affection. The path of a spiritual life is stated in the Vedas to be like the edge of a sharpened razor. A little inattentiveness may at once create havoc and bloodshed. But one who's a completely surrendered soul, always seeking protection from the Lord, in the discharge of his entrusted duties, has no fear of falling into material contamination. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Sunyavari Pasyatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so this is a very important verse, like any other verse. But it is important because there are certain things that Lord Brahma, the head of our Sampradaya, is presenting here. This particular chapter is a unique section of these descriptions that Maitreya is presenting to Vidura. And it's very unique because at this point, Lord Brahma is revealed the potency. It's given the potency to do his service. Right? In fact, further in the chapter, Krishna explains that while you were looking for the source of your existence, and while you were desiring the capacity to do your service, I already have granted my blessings. Srila Prabhupada explains in those purports that that's the attitude of a devotee. A devotee is given a service, and he or she must feel unqualified to do that service out of humility, right? Not only out of humility, but if we analyze, what do we have? We have a body that is given to us by material nature through the agency of our parents, right? And then we are able to do certain things that we think that we are talented in doing. It could be cooking, singing, writing, speaking, whatever. But if we think about these qualities or talents that we may have, skills, we have learned from somebody. We have learned from our teachers in the past. We have learned by seeing others doing things. Therefore, our credit, it's not entirely ours. It's due to others that we have what we have. So therefore, when we say that we feel unqualified to do certain things, it's because what did I bring with me to this world? The saying goes, we come naked, right? You're born naked, and then you go without anything. So you don't bring much, right? But you're giving a lot. So at this point in the narration of this material creation, right? That's the topic. That's the main topic of the Bhagavatam. That's the platform where it's like when someone's going to study medicine, they need a platform, and that platform is the body. So the body is analyzed, study every single thing, every function like that. Doctors and people in the medical field, they need to study the body. And therefore, in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the first lesson that Srila Sukadeva Goswami explains to Parikshit Maharaj is about the universal form, right? Because this creation is that platform in which we can see the Lord, and we have to see the Lord. Otherwise, we will be confused. So, just a few things that we want to mention. Where does the Bhagavad Gita start? I know I always go back to the Bhagavad Gita, but where does the Bhagavad Gita start? Anybody? I know some of you know. Where does the Bhagavad Gita start? On the battlefield. The battlefield, that's a good answer. In the absolute world, Srila Prabhupada explains, 1 + 1 is? 1 + 1 is 1. And 1 - 1 is 1. That's absolute, right? So in the spiritual world, many of these answers are the correct one. So that's good. If we take the sequence of the Bhagavad Gita, where the Bhagavad Gita actually starts? In the question of Arjuna, yeah, that's like when you have the card and you have the key and you twist the key, the ignition, and then the whole car starts running. So the question of Arjuna is what triggers, right? We may say the response of Krishna in chapter 2. Those who are expert in Bhagavad Gita, not, they explain that Bhagavad Gita begins when Krishna starts talking. And Krishna starts speaking in chapter 2. In chapter 11, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Who says that? Who says Sri Bhagavan Uvacha? I know, I'm just trying to wake you up. I know I'm not saying that you're sleeping, but a way of keeping you awake. Sanjaya is describing this to Dhritarashtra. So then he says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Now the Lord is going to speak. Uvacha. So he starts saying, you are lamenting like a fool. That's the first thing that he says. Prabhupada explains, indirectly calling Arjuna a fool. Okay, what does that have to do with what we're discussing today? Because sometimes Bhagavatam class can go anywhere and everywhere. The Bhagavatam begins. Who's the main speaker of the Bhagavatam? Krishna. Krishna? Yes, again. Who? Arjuna? No. Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami is the main speaker. Every time we come to the temple, one thing that apart from many things that I like from this temple, this community, is that picture there. If you notice at the, when you're coming up the ramp, there's that painting. And I told Ramchara Prabhu, if one day you may, please engage us in redoing all that painting, because it's so beautiful, but it's a little worn out now. So that image, that it's, the image of the Bhagavatam, like that. That image is the representation of what's going on. So Sukadeva Goswami starts speaking in second canto, right? It's important to draw parallels between Gita and Bhagavatam in order for us to remember.
Sorry, I thought we were talking about Bhagavatam.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, I thought, okay, well, that was I wanted to say, yeah, that's okay, but so Bhagavatam begins just like Bhagavad Gita, not in the second chapter, but in the second canto. All right? So I just wanted to give a bit of a context of where are we now. And I often repeat these same things. The Puranas explain that Bhagavatam is compared to the form of the Lord. So I'm sure that all of you have a particular deity. Some will say, no, I just see Krishna everywhere, whatever. But I know that if I ask you confidentially, you may choose from all the deities that you have here, 6 of them, maybe one set, one pair, or maybe one of them, right? Maybe think about that. So, when you see your favorite, or if you see them all, if you want, according to the Puranas, it is explained that the Bhagavatam is compared to the form of the Lord. And the first 2 cantos are the lotus feet. And then it keeps going up. The thighs, and then the navel, and then the chest, and the arms, and the neck. And then finally, the 10th canto is the face of the Lord. And then the 11th canto, the forehead, and the 12th canto, the crown. So we go up. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the second canto, in the beginning of the second canto, that's how we have to read the Bhagavatam. Why? Because it shows that we are following the indicated path, the process. So and he compares. When we see the deity, the first thing, or the first part that we have to see is the lotus feet, like that. So we are going up. We are in the 3rd canto here. 3rd and 4th canto, the thighs, legs of the Lord. So Sukadeva Goswami starts speaking Bhagavatam in the 2nd canto. That's at the end of the 1st canto, chapter 19. It's called the appearance of Sukadeva Goswami. So now everything is going to start. So before we entered into the 3rd canto, a few things about 1st and 2nd canto. There are ways that we can remember this. There are ways that we can understand things. One of my, healthy, unhealthy obsessions is how to learn things, because I'm not a good learner. My Guru Maharaj always says, Sharku is he's a slow learner, he says. So I'm just determined, like when someone has some difficulty, learning disability, one of those things, you have to have a specialist like that. So I like to learn how to learn, right? So one of the ways that we learn is with different tricks, sometimes using acronyms, sometimes using what's called mnemonics or images. Like Krishna uses that when he's teaching Arjuna. Like, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, he uses analogies, right? Anyone remembers any of the analogies from the Bhagavad Gita that has created an impression in your...
The banyan tree.
The banyan tree, that's a big one. Chapter 15, right? Upside down. Okay? Yeah, that's a big one. Another one? Bhagavad Gita, mini Bhagavad Gita class.
As you have to water the root of the tree and nourish it, you can't just pour water on the leaves and branches.
Right.
So to satisfy everyone, demigods, Krishna,
Yeah.
you have to just serve.
Yeah.
serve Krishna.
Right.
The other example is like to feed your body and to put food in the mouth,
Right.
food in any of those things.
Right. Yeah, that's Bhagavatam. Prabhupada quotes in the purport. Yeah. The tortoise, bringing the limbs in. And so many. Practically every chapter has analogies like that. So, back to our description. The first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam establishes something quite important. This is how you're going to learn spiritual life. And the way that I remember it is S. Okay? Why? Because in the first canto, the main teachings that are given in those 19 chapters is how to be a disciple. And how do you say disciple in Sanskrit? Sishya. And where do we get this word from? Of course, in the Vedic literature is there. But that's the first thing that Arjuna tells Krishna. Karpanya dosapataha swabha. I'm suffering now. I'm confused. I don't know what to do. Prichami tvam dharma samudachetaha. Yakshaya sangnishchita brahitamin. Sisyasteham. I am your disciple. Sisyasteham. Sadi tvam mam prapanam. I surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Please help me. So that concept of Sishya is projected onto the first canto. 19 chapters to establish the principle of discipleship and guruship. Right? So who are the disciples? The sages of Naimisharanya. Right? And the leader of those disciples is Shaunaka Rishi. Not everyone's going to talk at the same time. And who's the guru in that context? Who's teaching the sages? You know, Sutta Goswami. Many S's there. I have a number of S's there. Sutta Goswami. Sutta is the leader. Sutta is the teacher. Right? And then we go on to chapter 4. And then we have another set of guru disciple. Who's a disciple in this case? Who's the next set of disciple and guru? Srila Vyasadeva. Imagine the Lord himself incarnated, literary incarnation, as a writer, and he presents himself as a disciple of Srila Narada Muni. So we have the sages and Sutta, Narada, Vyasadeva and Narada, and then guess who enters into the scene? We have when the movies are coming out and they say coming soon, then you see billboards and on the buses, on the trains and different, like that. So we have prepared with my wife a presentation, a course, mini course. It's called Entering Srimad Bhagavatam, you know. So I'm just making, it's an advertisement. It's coming soon. It's ready there. So who enters into the scene? Guess who enters into the scene? Any guesses? Krishna. Right? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna takes a sort of backseat for some time. In the first 6 chapters, some of you who have attended my limited presentations, you know the first 6 chapters is all about you. Who are you? What you're meant to do, what you're meant to learn, what you're meant to feel, what you're meant to think. That's a sequence. And then Krishna enters in chapter 7. What's chapter 7 title? Bhagavad Gita? Knowledge of the Absolute. And the Absolute means who's the boss. Knowledge of knowing who is the boss. Like that. So, that's when Krishna enters. So in the first canto, Krishna enters in chapter 7. Son of Drona punished. And Krishna acts as the guru of whom? Famous devotees who Prabhupada explains travel with Krishna throughout the material world teaching the lessons of bhakti. Who are those devotees? They are not in the spiritual world. Prabhupada explained they are always in the material world with Krishna. The who? You know, the Pandavas. The Pandavas. Arjuna is always there. Like he explains in chapter 4. You don't remember your previous lives, but we have been together. We have done this before. Right? So Krishna enters as the guru. Krishna enters as the guide, as the protector, as the teacher. Queen Kunti prays to him. Uttara runs to him to protect Parikshit Maharaj. Right? Arjuna goes to him to decide what's happening with Aswathama. This is a big problem. So, whom they go to? Krishna. Huh? And then also within that section, we find another guru who instructs Yudhishthira Maharaj particularly. Who's that? Someone who's in the verge of his deathbed. Vishma. Krishna is so unique that although he's there, the guru of the universe, he wants grandfather Vishma to instruct Yudhishthira. He's standing there. Some of you, if you have or if you haven't, please go to Vishma Kund in Kurukshetra. He's there, it's a lake, and there's deities there, and there's Vishmadev laying on a bed of arrows. And there are different details of the past in there. So Krishna wants his devotees to teach on his behalf. So anyway, the point is Sisha, Guru discipleship. That dynamic, it's established in the first canto, right? And then we encountered Parikshit Maharaj's story. And then the curse happens. And then what he does, he gives up everything, gives up his kingdom, and then he goes, Prabhupada explains, guided by Paramatma, looking for his guru. And then the last chapter of first canto is the appearance of Sukadeva Goswami. So the first canto establishes that which is referred to in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text number 7. Where Arjuna's first question appears. And then Krishna explains to him in chapter 4, text number 34. Though all those who have initiation should know this verse by heart. If any other verse, at least this verse. Tad vidhi pranipatina pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinaha. You're going to find someone who's going to show you the truth because he has seen the truth. Tattva darshina. Darshina means when you have darshan, means you're seeing. Audience. Also it means understanding. The Vedic darshans. Like that. So the principle of Sisha is established in the first canto. So what is established in the second canto? Second canto is comparatively smaller. It has only 10 chapters. Highly recommended. Very small. In the second canto, it is established the sadhana. I have learned this from people who knows, people who has brains. So I'm just repeating here, like a parrot. The sadhana, so another S, Sisha, and then sadhana. And what's that sadhana? Do you know what sadhana means, you know? Waking up early, having a regulated life, committing responsibly with our practices. In the case of Lord Brahma, what was the sadhana? He had to do austerity. What was the order that came through the loudspeakers? What was the word? You know. What is that word, that voice, the universal voice that came vibrating and then through the sky, and then what was the word? Tapa. Right? Like that. So that tapa, that tapasya, that austerity, that's the sadhana. I have to regulate my life. Yuktahara viharasya. So many instructions. Right? Okay, so once you're ready, once you are embracing that position as a disciple, okay, then what? I got a spiritual name, now I can go and party in the Hare Krishna parties that we have a lot, and I can have a good time and enjoy and eat lots and chant and be happy, yeah? Oh. Anyway, the boogie was going down. The kid was playing. Padam padam jadpi padam nateshan. Every step, there's danger. The mother is there to protect. So, once we establish that, that's first canto, 19 chapters. Then 10 chapters to establish the importance of being regulated, the importance of discipline. I have to meditate for thousands of years. That is Lord Brahma's example. Is that clear? SS, Sisha, Sadhana. And then the final one, Canto 3, sorry. Canto 3. What is Canto 3? Actually, Canto 3 is very interesting. I learned this from Buddhajana Prabhu. Canto 3 and 4, like that. Sometimes you say, they say in the stores, buy one, get another one free, right? Have you seen those? Or 50% of the other, one of those things. I'm not a business person, unfortunately. So, Canto 3 and 4, they come together. It's the longest section dedicated to one of the speakers of the Bhagavatam. Again, all glories to Buddhajana Prabhu. I read his books, and then it sounds like I know a lot, but I'm not, but he does. He has read everything. So, it's the longest section. Why? Because Maitreya speaks practically all, or most of the third canto, and then fourth canto. And it's interesting, if you go to the end of the fourth canto, at the very end of the descriptions, if you just read running the verses, then you see, at the end, Vidura, he stands up, pays obeisance, prays, and then he leaves. And that's it, Because Prabhupada explains also in the first purports of the Bhagavatam that sometimes the chronology is a little bit mixed. Sometimes there are books of movies that say 10 years earlier, right? So the chronology, the sequence, it's sometimes mixed. It's not wrong, it's just mixed, we have to understand. Okay, so first canto, Sisya, discipleship. Second canto, Sadhana, tapasya, discipline. And third canto, we were saying, question mark. What is the third canto? The third canto is really the explanation of creation. Okay? First canto is called creation, second canto is called cosmic manifestation. Third canto is called status quo. Status quo, it's a Latin word. It's combined, two words. It means this is how it is. The status. What's your status? Single, married, blah, blah, blah. What's your status? Like that. What's your state? It actually comes from Sanskrit. Stita, pragya, grihasta. Sta, like that. So, third canto refers to the service, seva. So it's Sisya, Sadhana, Seva. What is the seva that Krishna is giving? In this case, Brahma, Lord Brahma. But in our case, what is the service that Krishna has given you and I? Like that. Okay, so that's the third canto. Now we are in third canto. Finally, we arrived after 40 minutes. So this verse has basically 4 points, we may say. The first point is that the Lord's potencies are innumerable. What are the main potencies? I heard Mate's class, Krishna Rupa Mate, 2 days ago online. And she was asking this. So, if anything, we need to learn these 6 opulences of the Lord. Who knows them? Strength, wealth. What? Renunciation. Beauty. Huh? Fame. Right. Anybody knows the Sanskrit? Aishwarasya samagrasya Virasya Jashasha Sriya. Famous, beauty. Jnana vairagyaschaiva. That's the easy line. Sanam bhaga itingana. Who spoke this verse? Famous person who has a very important son, very famous son, the most important Vedic writer. Who wrote the Vedas? Vyasadeva. So his father, Parasara Muni, wrote this verse. He presented it in the Puranas. So 6 opulences of the Lord. The Lord's potencies are innumerable. Now we say 6, but actually the main ones, and these are, just to show that nobody can have more than Krishna. Krishna has that in full. He lies down in the water of devastation. I am born of him, etc. And I'm now engaged in manifesting his diverse energies in the form of the cosmic manifestation. So this is the service that Lord Brahma has. I need to create this. Okay? And this is the important part. And why I say the important part, not the other, is not important, because Prabhupada devotes or dedicates all his purport to this part. At the end of this, Lord Brahma is praying. He says 2 things. He said, I therefore pray that in the course of my material activities, I may not be deviated from the vibration of the Vedic hymns. In other words, from the Vedas. I may not be deviated. So, the question here is, number 1, the Lord is a benefactor of the devotees, and the Lord is the protector of the devotees. Right? And Lord Brahma is therefore asking Krishna to protect him from being deviated, or as we commonly say in ISKCON, to fall in Maya. Right? That's the warning here that Prabhupada explains. And he quotes, and I always forget the Sanskrit of this verse, and I couldn't even find it, even though I have the book here. I forgot how it starts. Chudaksha or something like that. Somebody there, they challenged me that, where's that verse? And it's here somewhere. I couldn't find it. That explains that when one shaves, if one is not careful, then one may cut oneself. And then Prabhupada says, quite graphically, he says, a little inattentiveness may at once create havoc and bloodshed in a spiritual life, if we deviate. Therefore, it is explained also, is Rupa Goswami, Shruti Smriti Puranadi. Shruti Smriti Puranadi, Pancharatra Vidim Vina. That we need to follow these explanations given in the Vedas. Shruti Smriti, 2 parts of the Vedas. Pancharatra Vidim Vina. Why? Rupa Goswami explains. Because he says, what's that verse? Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidim Vina. Who remembers? Remember Shastra? Akantaki Harer Bhaktir. Even though you may want Krishna Bhakti, Aikantaki Harer Bhaktir, if you don't follow that, if we don't follow that, Utpatayaiva Kalpate. What you will create is disaster. Sometimes Prabhupada will say that. Just disaster. I want to be a devotee, but I don't want to follow that. I want to be a devotee, but I don't care what the devotees are telling me. I want to be a devotee, but I don't care what the authority, GBC, this, that, I don't care. I do my thing. Right? And then what happens? Disaster. Prabhupada says here, havoc and bloodshed. Sounds quite dramatic. And unfortunately, maybe fortunately in one sense, in ISKCON we had plenty of havoc and bloodshed. And we need to learn from that. We need to learn our lessons. Ravindra Swarup Prabhu says, when a plane crashes, and as I said, we had plenty of crashes, some minor, some major. What happens? There is a crash investigation. I remember there was this series in telly or something somewhere. And then what happens? They go and they rebuild the whole plane. Sometimes it takes years, but then they rebuild it. And then they find where was the problem. Where was the cut? Why the bloodshed? The bloodshed means there was a mistake, there was inattentiveness. So here, Lord Brahma is praying, please don't let me deviate. Don't let me, Prabhupada says in the purport, fall down. Like that. So that is the prayer. So it is important to be a disciple, take initiation, yes, Acharya Upashanam, and all the verses that promote this. It is important, second canto, to have sadhana, very serious. I wake up at this time, I do this fasting, I do that, the other. Okay, very good. And then it's important to have service, seva, third canto, third and fourth canto, we may say. But most importantly is to know where is the handbrake. Just like the car was rolling down, I saw, oh my God, disaster is coming. But then Prabhu ran and the Mati was there, so the disaster was saved, right? It's like props. Sometimes Krishna arranges these things. I was watching, I was, oh my God. Be careful, be warned, because otherwise havoc and bloodshed. And some of us may have had experience already, a little bit of havoc, a little bit of bloodshed. So we learn. Hopefully we learn from the mistakes that we and others commit, and we don't commit them again. And I think I said this before. When I asked my Guru Maharaj many years ago, before his stroke, I said, Guru Maharaj, I miss those days when you were my direct authority and everything I did was what you asked me to do, or at least I tried. But now, Grihasta, and I don't live with you anymore, etc. And, I don't have your direct instruction. So please give me an order. And then he said, I said, no, you're helping, you're taking care of your family, you're helping the temple. No. I said, no, Guru Maharaj, I know that you have to, I need, Then he said, help the younger devotees. That's what he said. Teach or instruct, train, help the younger devotees, he said. And I said, but how can I help them? I cannot hardly help myself. I committed so many mistakes, had so many problems. He says, yes, you're ideal for the job. I said, ideal for the job? Yes, because you have committed so many mistakes. So you know what not to do. So you tell others, don't do what I did. Don't suffer like this unnecessarily. You're the best for the job. And he said, you're a counselor. For addictions, alcohol, drugs, and these sort of things. Who are the best counselors? The one who have been rehabilitated. So hopefully you are rehabilitated. Hopefully you learn your lessons. So here Lord Brahma is praying to Krishna, not only give me the capacity to do my service, but please protect me, that I don't become puffed up and think I am the creator. I am the best. Preacher, manager, cook, pujari, sankirtan. How many of those I have seen? How many times I have thought like that? Oh, I'm such a good blank, 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 and then boom, the car goes down, crashes. So many car crashes like that. So we have to be careful. And how are we careful? By learning from those who are careful. And Lord Brahma is being careful here. He's saying, please, please protect me, because I am exposed to these material situations. So don't let me fall. Don't let me crash. Again, in some of our cases. So this is something about this. I'm trying to focus on the context of the first 2 cantos and now 3rd canto, going into the 4th. And this is the emphasis that Prabhupada is giving to this aspect of the verse, because it has many things and every word practically can be elaborated for a long, long time. But Prabhupada chose to talk about the protection that Lord Brahma is asking from Krishna when we are doing our service. So now that we go back, our question is, what is my service? And what is my warning? Lord Brahma says, don't let me think falsely that I am the creator. Don't let me think that. Let me understand that I'm just nimittama trabhava savyasa chin. Krishna tells Arjuna, just become my instrument. That's it. Okay, so we stop here. If there's any questions or points, comments, anything. Brahmachari, Mike.
Thank you for the class. I missed some of it. I have to go on. But my question is, you mentioned about mistakes. I remember my spiritual master said that sometimes in baseball, they say 3 strikes.
3 strikes out.
And you're out. But I remember also I was talking to Krishna Kirtan Prabhu once, and he said that Krishna, there's always a chance for everyone, even if someone commits offenses to devotees, their service is checked, but it's not like always in Christianity they say hellfire and damnation, it's not eternal
All right.
damnation.
Okay.
So how do we apply that safety and not think, oh, it's okay, I'm still going to be here.
Okay, thank you for the question. Just one thing. Those who are sitting and hearing 3rd canto and 4th canto, there's what's called a Shruti file that I found it yesterday because I was thinking, where is it? And I found it. Prabhupada's mercy. The Shruti file, for those who are listening to this, we find this, I think, in text number 40, if not, maybe mixed, is that you will have long life, you have wealth, you have good reputation, you had good fortune, and you will go back to Godhead. This is Bhagavatam, Shruti file, the blessings from listening to this section of the Bhagavatam. So, eternal damnation, yeah, okay, I hear the point. So what happens, because sometimes he says, oh, you're going to be eternally sent to burning hell, eternally. Not too appealing. Okay, I just want to give an example in addressing that. One time one devotee went to see Prabhupada in Mayapur. This devotee's name is Satadanya. And Prabhupada said, Satadanya. You know what Satadanya means? Eternally merciful. Right? The devotee entered, pay obeisance, and the other devotees were there. And then Prabhupada just went into this mood of just relishing Krishna's names and the meaning of that. And then he said, Satadanya means that you may fall once, you may fall twice, you may fall thrice, and Krishna will forgive. Actually, you can fall so many times, and Krishna still will forgive. And he says, but don't abuse it. He said like that. So yes, Krishna is very merciful, very kind, and we may fall and stand up, fall and come back, fall, and so many. Now that we were living in Mayapur, many Prabhupada disciples were coming, and somehow they were sharing that, their adventures and fall downs and crashes here and there. And they have realized that Prabhupada gave them, the opportunity to go back to Godhead. So they were coming back to Mayapur to strengthen up their spiritual life and to take the opportunity that Prabhupada has given them. So, yes, Prabhupada has explained that Krishna is eternally merciful, Satadanya. but we don't have to abuse him. That's the thing. And a devotee thinks that he's eternally doomed, right? And there are many prayers also in the Bhagavatam. I forgot that verse. Tattenukam pamshushamiksamano. That it is my rightful claim, Krishna, that whatever wrongs I have done, please you offer me to save me. Please save me. The last two verses of the Sri Upanishad, there's the prayer of this devotee that says, forget all the wrongs that I have done and remember whatever good I have done and allow me to go back home, back to you. So yes, Krishna is very kind, but let's not abuse him, as Prabhupada says. And let's be in that mood of, I am fallen by nature, by tendency, by desire, but by the force of Guru Maharaj and the Vaishnavas, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, it's called Kripa Siddha. We can achieve perfection by the force of someone who is forcing us to take the mercy. We don't want, but he's forcing us. That's Srila Prabhupada and his representatives. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nidai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari.